What's up? Welcome to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of The Boys in the Boat, the new historical sports drama film directed by George Clooney, starring Callum Turner. This film, based on the book by the same name, is the story of the University of Washington rowing team that went on to compete at the 1936 Berlin Olympics head-to-head against the Nazis, pre-World War II, among other competitors. And this is obviously historical story. You can look up what happened. You can probably assume how things go based off the kind of movie, based on how the trailer presents everything. Not really much to spoil here. Nonetheless, this is a movie that kind of feels right up George Clooney's alley as a director, and also the results of the movie itself also feel pretty in line with George Clooney as a director. Unfortunately, The Boys in the Boat is a pretty big dud, I have to say. It's broadly watchable. It's even a bit rousing and heartwarming at times, but it's really a movie that is so down the middle. It's so safe. It's also so staid and like sexless and emotionless that it's just pretty darn bland. And this is pretty solid material to do a historical sports story about, but I was pretty underwhelmed by the whole prospect, I have to say. And George Clooney, to this point, as a director, he's directed many films at this point, back to the mid 2000s, and none of them have been that great. There's been some okay ones, like The Ides of March, I guess you could say, but Suburbicon, I guess. But like he's not a great director. I think we can pretty safely say that at this point. And The Boys in the Boat, I think the issue with this movie, like I said, it's just so bland. Like there's basically no conflict to the story. Any brief moments of adversity are basically conveniently and completely resolved very quickly. Any side character or side plot or side relationship to the core plot of the rowers has no depth to it at all. And in general, there's not much depth to the movie. So it's really just a adaptation of some history with nothing else tacked onto it, I guess you could say. It stars Callum Turner as Joe Rance, who, that's the real life character. And Caleb Turner, probably best known as Theseus on Fantastic Beasts. He'll be on Masters of the Air and Apple next month, which I'm looking forward to. But he's just given, really no material at all in this role, even though he's our lead. Like, for example, he has a kind of romance at school at the University of Washington with a woman played by Hadley Robinson. And apparently they fall in love. Apparently they hit it off. But there's no spice to that relationship at all in the movie. Like, they don't show you anything. They don't develop anything. And it's just so unbelievable. And honestly, a huge waste of Hadley Robinson, who I thought was really great as Jeannie Buss on HBO's Winning Time. She gets absolutely nothing to do in this movie. And Caleb Turner, he just kind of just goes about it. He has a presence to him. He has a movie star look for sure, and he looks pretty jacked in the movie. But he has nothing to do. That being said, he has more to do than all of his teammates in the boat. This is if these 8 guys can row as one, they can win. That's our central message. But the other 7 guys have no personality. We don't even know their names, almost all of them. There's nothing to these dudes. And they're just man candy, I guess you could say. That's all they're doing there in the movie is, wearing tank tops on the water. It's just, there's just nothing there. And Joel Edgerton plays their coach at the university, and it's a solid performance from him. He has to play a few different sides as he kind of weaves the politics of rowing, which was a very popular sport back in the 30s, and also try and coach up these guys, this junior boat, which he realizes have so much talent that he has to prioritize them because they actually have a chance not only to make the Olympics out of the U.S., but actually have a chance to medal. And it's an okay performance from him. But like I said, there's just not enough to this movie. I have to say I was pretty disappointed by the production quality with some of the stuff too. It's a period film. It's set in the 30s. And there's a lot of grounding in the Depression and growing up in the Depression. Joe is very poor. He's referred to as Hobo Joe at one point by someone pejoratively. His dad left him. Mother had died. All that's there. But on the other hand, the stuff on the water it's like so obvious that they filmed on the same like 2 or 3 locations for each location. So even when they go from training at the University of Washington to competing on the Hudson River in New York at Poughkeepsie, shout out Poughkeepsie, like it looks exactly the same every time, and it just felt a bit bland, you know. And again, kind of fitting the overall screenplay here, which is just so darn staid. And then it starts to get a bit hokey because you have this plot where one of the rowers gets sick when they get to Berlin, and there's like this doubt of if his ability to perform will affect the team and ruin their chances at a medal. And it turns out there's not only no impact on his sickness meaning anything, but it's not even talked about or resolved in any way. It's just almost like basically ignored. He just kind of willed his way through his sickness. It's pretty lame. Also, there's a moment where the boys say what up to Jesse Owens before the opening ceremony, and it's like super. I think it's pretty cringy, to be honest, because it's like acknowledgement of like what Jesse Owens represented when he went to Berlin in the 30s and they're 36, and yet this movie has no means to tackle any of that. So much so that the characters, when Jesse Owens is like, no, I don't want to show them, I want to show the boys back home. The boys in the boat, they just kind of like nod their heads and go, oh yeah, like it's literally all the movie can do. Hitler's in the movie, of course, at the end there, and he's just kind of a character, sure, pretty amusing, I guess, watching him get pissed, watching his Germans lose to these guys. But yeah, I don't know, man. This movie was pretty dull, I have to say. Like some of the moments where like they win, they succeed throughout the movie, the set piece, I guess you could say. They like can get you feeling something just because I think the music is pretty good at like manipulating the emotions of the viewer to like have you feel something. But at the end of the day, the movie is so dadcore and so just down the darn middle, man. I thought it was pretty bland. Just the lack of conflict, the lack of really anything like to this movie getting in the way, the forward momentum of all these guys. Like, I don't know. In theory, could have been a lot better. But yeah, Boys in the Boat, not very good. I imagine this movie's going to get trounced at the box office, opening at Christmas in a very busy holiday quarter. You have a lot of movies that open a little bit earlier that are going to stick around. I think this movie's going to get swallowed up whole, to be honest, and the poor reviews are not going to help it. But yeah, that's The Boys in the Boat. If you've seen it, let me know. What did you think? Did you like it more than me? Uh, are you with me that George Clooney is not much of a director? I'd much rather see him in Ticket to Paradise like we did last year, for example. Nonetheless, let me know what you're thinking. And for more movie reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.